HubSpot versus Salesforce. Outsourcing admin in 2025. Why HubSpot versus Salesforce became an operations question. In 2025, most B2B teams aren't losing deals because their CRM is missing a feature. They're losing time, focus, and pipeline clarity because nobody truly owns the system. Sales reps still spend only about 28% of their week actually selling, which means the rest of the week is vulnerable to admin drag, messy data, and slow follow-up. When that happens, outbound execution suffers first. Connect rates drop, sequences misfire, and meeting volume becomes unpredictable. This is why the real question behind HubSpot versus Salesforce is who's administering the platform, how fast can changes ship, and how reliably does data flow from activity to reporting. CRM adoption is essentially universal. About 91% of companies with 10+ employees use a CRM, so we have a CRM is no longer a competitive advantage. Operational excellence inside the CRM is the advantage, and that's exactly where outsourcing CRM admin and RevOps has become mainstream. At SalesHive, we see this up close because our outbound programs live or die on CRM fundamentals: clean account lists, verified contact data, correct routing, and reporting that matches reality. Whether you run a cold calling agency motion, a cold email agency motion, or a blended sales outsourcing model, the CRM needs to behave like a revenue system, not a compliance tool. Outsourcing admin can be the fastest way to get there, but only if it's designed around outcomes instead of tickets. The hidden revenue cost of bad CRM admin and data. When CRM admin is under-resourced, the first symptom is small friction: duplicate records, missing phone numbers, inconsistent stages, broken automations, and reports nobody trusts. The second symptom is expensive. Poor data quality is estimated to cost organizations about $15 million per year on average. And in CRM-specific research, 44% of companies say poor data quality costs them more than 10% of annual revenue, meaning this isn't an ops annoyance, it's a revenue leak. This is also why we push teams to treat CRM admin as a revenue role, not IT overhead. Clean data improves targeting, routing reduces lead response time, and accurate pipeline stages improve forecasting and coaching. If an admin activity doesn't move one of those needles, it's fair to question why it's being prioritized, especially when your SDR agency or outsourced sales team is trying to run high-volume outbound without tripping over broken fields and inconsistent definitions. A practical starting point is to quantify the admin tax. For 1 week, have a sample of reps track time spent logging activities, updating fields, building lists, and pulling reports. Then compare it to time spent calling, emailing, and running demos. Once leadership sees that reclaiming even a few hours per rep per week can materially lift meetings, the ROI case for outsourced CRM admin or a fractional RevOps partner becomes straightforward. HubSpot versus Salesforce in 2025. Scale, complexity, and admin load. Salesforce still leads the CRM market with roughly 20.7% global share, which matters because it creates a deep bench of admins, consultants, and ecosystem tooling. HubSpot, meanwhile, has grown to 248,000 plus customers worldwide, and it's especially common in SMB and mid-market teams that want speed and simplicity. In other words, both platforms are safe choices in 2025, but they ask for very different operating models once you get past initial setup. We recommend choosing the CRM based on process complexity, not brand prestige. If your motion is fairly standard, clear stages, 1 or 2 product lines, straightforward approvals, HubSpot often delivers faster time to value with less ongoing admin overhead. If you're managing complex territories, multiple business units, CPQ, multi-layer approvals, or heavy customization, Salesforce usually justifies the additional admin investment because it can model reality more precisely. The key is aligning your outsourcing model to the platform's admin gravity. HubSpot typically works best with lighter-weight RevOps as a service focused on workflows, routing, lifecycle definitions, and reporting. Salesforce often requires more specialized managed services, and eventually an internal owner, because changes can cascade across objects, permissions, automation, and reporting in ways that demand deeper platform expertise. That cascade is where teams get surprised. What outsourced CRM admin should own and what you keep in-house. Outsourcing works best when you outsource the repetitive and operationally heavy work while keeping strategy internal. Your outsourced HubSpot or Salesforce admin should typically own data hygiene, deduping, workflow maintenance, routing rules, integration monitoring, dashboard builds, and documentation. Your internal RevOps or sales leader should own ICP definition, lifecycle strategy, pipeline design decisions, and the trade-offs between speed and governance. Before you engage any partner, define a minimum viable CRM blueprint so they execute a clear plan instead of inventing structure as they go. That blueprint should cover deal stages, required fields, lead sources, routing logic, account tiers, and naming conventions, with a clear change control process for anything new. This one step prevents the common failure mode where vendors deliver impressive-looking configuration that doesn't help SDRs prospect, follow up, or close. Finally, measure partners on outcomes, not ticket volume. The KPIs should map to revenue mechanics, data completeness in target segments, time to route inbound leads, sequence coverage on target accounts, deliverability/connect rate inputs, and pipeline/report accuracy. If you can't see tangible improvements within a quarter, you're likely buying activity instead of impact, and that's when outsourcing becomes just another vendor line item. Treat CRM administration like a revenue function. If the work doesn't improve routing speed, data quality, or pipeline clarity, it doesn't deserve budget. How to build a high ROI outsourcing model without adding chaos. A strong outsourcing model starts with a data quality SLA that's reviewed monthly, not annually. Define thresholds for duplicate rate, email/phone validity, and required field completeness for the segments your outbound sales agency targets. Then tie part of the partner relationship, renewal, expansion, or even a small performance component to hitting those thresholds, because bad data quietly breaks cold calling services and cold email performance long before it shows up in the revenue report. Next, launch one high-impact automation project that makes the ROI obvious. A common example is routing all demo requests to the right SDR within minutes and auto-enrolling prospects into the correct follow-up sequence with tasks created and tracked. When that's working, you can expand to more sophisticated automation like account-based routing, stage-based sequence governance, and standardized dispositions for cold callers so reporting stays consistent. If you're also running sales outsourcing or an outsourced SDR program, align the SDR execution and CRM outsourcing under one internal RevOps owner. Too many teams run an SDR agency on one side and CRM admin on the other, with nobody accountable for the full funnel from list criteria to meetings booked to pipeline attribution. One internal owner with clear meeting and pipeline goals will prevent finger-pointing and keep your outbound sales agency, your CRM admin partner, and leadership reading the same scoreboard. Common outsourcing mistakes and how to avoid them. The most expensive mistake is choosing HubSpot or Salesforce based on price or brand name instead of process reality. A misfit platform creates months of rework, poor adoption, and constant admin firefighting, until SDRs fall back to spreadsheets and your pipeline visibility disappears. The fix is simple but non-negotiable. Map your sales process, complexity, and internal admin capacity first, then select the CRM whose strengths match and layer outsourced support where your team can't realistically keep up. Another common failure is outsourcing CRM admin without clear ownership and KPIs. When nobody internally acts as the product owner, vendors may ship random fields, workflows, and reports that look sophisticated but don't change rep behavior. Assign an internal owner and define 3 to 5 metrics that correlate to pipeline health. Then review them on a consistent cadence so your partner is accountable to business outcomes. Finally, teams often underestimate migration and integration effort when switching CRMs or running a hybrid stack. Moving from Salesforce to HubSpot or vice versa without a plan can stall outbound, break automations, and corrupt historical reporting right when you're trying to improve execution. Budget 4 to 8 weeks for migration planning, prioritize must-have objects and fields, and consider a short parallel run so your outbound engine doesn't lose momentum. Advanced optimization, AI leverage, security, and hybrid stacks. AI is changing the admin workload, but it isn't eliminating it. Tools can help with data entry, enrichment, and dedupe, yet someone still needs to define the underlying process, validate outcomes, and maintain governance so automations don't drift. In practice, AI increases the leverage of a good partner. They can automate more grunt work, ship improvements faster, and focus your internal team on strategy instead of cleanup. Security is also solvable if you treat it as part of the operating model rather than an afterthought. Use named user accounts, MFA, role-based access, and least privilege permissions, and require change logs and documented rollback plans for production updates. For major changes, insist on a sandbox-first approach so your CRM stays stable while your partner improves it. Hybrid setups, like HubSpot for marketing automation and Salesforce for core CRM, can work well, but they amplify the importance of one source of truth and one accountable owner. Every extra system increases data quality risk, sync failure points, and reporting ambiguity. If you go hybrid, make sure the integration logic, lifecycle definitions, and attribution reporting are owned end-to-end by a single RevOps leader, not split across vendors. One owner, one truth. Budgeting and next steps. When to outsource versus hire in 2025. Hiring decisions are often where CRM operations break down, especially on Salesforce. A typical U.S. Salesforce administrator salary range of $90,000 to $115,000 is entirely reasonable for the value a great admin provides. But many teams either hire too early or wait far too long. As a rule of thumb, HubSpot teams under 30 reps can often win with a strong internal owner plus a fractional partner, while Salesforce orgs trending toward 50-plus active users usually benefit from at least one dedicated admin and specialist partners for projects and data work. The market is moving this direction for a reason. Revenue operations services are projected to grow from about $392 million in 2025 to around $1.8 billion by 2033, and research points to about 41% of enterprises redirecting internal IT ops budgets toward outsourced RevOps to accelerate time to value. Outsourcing is no longer a stopgap. It's a standard way to scale CRM capability without bloating headcount. The teams that win are the ones that bring governance, KPIs, and a clear division of labor to the relationship. If you want a practical next step, create a 12-month ownership plan. What stays internal, strategy, lifecycle decisions, ICP, versus what gets outsourced: admin, hygiene, reporting builds, integrations. Then align your outbound motion, whether it's in-house, a sales development agency, or a full outsourced sales team, so activity flows cleanly into the CRM and reports back out in a way leadership trusts. When CRM admin and outbound execution work together, your cold call services, B2B cold calling services, and email outreach become measurably easier to scale.